So, we have a top man and a hard man, sperm type weapons and sperm type enemies. Is Mega Man 3 the most perverted Mega Man game? Hello everybody, and welcome to Creative Gaming, the show where we inject a bit of RNG into our playthroughs, either for challenge purposes or just a new way to play the game. Alright, which game are we on to this month, Negativio? Is it time for some more Mega Man yet?
Yep, seems to be next on your schedule.
Alright, we did Mega Man 2 a few months ago. I think it's about time for Mega Man 3. Another childhood favorite of mine. I remember being a kid, going to my local rental store one day, and I was watching the workers unpack the next few Nintendo games that would be available for rentals. I got excited when I saw them take out Mega Man 3. I had seen the advertisements in Nintendo Power, so I knew it was coming. I rented it before they even officially put the box on the shelf, and I went home to play it. After the awesomeness that is Mega Man 2, I couldn't wait to see what Mega Man 3 had to offer, and I definitely wasn't disappointed. Looking back today, it's kind of strange how this third game breaks certain conventions, like the Doc Robot stages, 2 different chains of weaknesses, etc. And I will talk about more of these as I play the game. Alright, so as nostalgic as I am, I won't pretend to play on an old NES controller like I did in the last Mega Man challenge. Thanks to El Groucho here.
That would be me. This show needs some quality control.
I am playing the Legacy Collection on Switch, but I'm not using any easy mode or anything. I don't even remember if this version has it. But I will be playing it with the old school difficulty that I remember. So here are the rules for this playthrough. They're the same rules as Mega Man 2. I'll roll an 8-sided die to determine the level and Robot Master that I'm taking on. So 1 would be Sparkman, 2 would be Snake Man, etc, etc. I can't revisit stages once I complete them, so I'm probably just going to edit out the dud rolls, or rolls to stages that I've already completed. A game over doesn't allow me to change stages. However, I will allow myself 1 cheat or reroll. If I get stuck, I can reroll the die 1 time to change my level. I had to use this carefully because a reroll could send me to a better or worse level. So, strategy is key. Alright, here we go. Mega Man 2 had arguably the best soundtrack in the series, but Mega Man 3 has a pretty good soundtrack as well. It's hard to top the soundtrack of the second game, but Mega Man 3 holds its own just fine. Whenever a new Mega Man game was coming out, I was always curious as to what new Robot Masters we would have to deal with. This game had classics like Snake Man, Magnet Man, and it has other classics like Top Man and Hard Man, but no sexual innuendos on this show, folks.
He hasn't gotten to those yet.
Wanna make Mega Man dizzy?
He's so juvenile.
Alright, it's time to roll for my very first Robot Master. Here we go. And I roll an 8. So that would be Shadow Man. Oh geez, this is probably the role I was dreading the most. Shadow Man is probably the most difficult Robot Master to take down with your regular arm cannon. Of course, I had to start with Quick Man in Mega Man 2. Now I have to start with Shadow Man in Mega Man 3. I'm just not lucky at these friggin' dice rolls. Alright, here goes nothing. So the level itself isn't difficult, kind of this weird sewer area. I don't know if that red water is sewer water or molten lava. There are some weird themed stages in Mega Man 3. Here we get the introduction to Proto Man. He's kind of a frenenemy. Sometimes he helps you, sometimes he fights you. These bulb things are an interesting enemy. They make the screen go dark, but there is also the illusion of a star field that scrolls by. Its purpose is to disorient you. This area has those parachuting enemies. It's best to draw them out from the platform, perform a fake jump. Otherwise, this level is pretty standard. I guess I'm at the end already. This was still a time where Mega Man levels were pretty short. Now I get to Shadow Man. He's insanely difficult with your regular weapon. He jumps in the air 2 or 3 times, but afterwards he either slides towards you or throws 2 of his shadow blades. I never know which attack he's going to use, and you have to react slightly different to both attacks. When he slides towards you, he'll jump immediately after, so it's difficult to jump over him. Ah damn, I have a game over already. Should I use my cheat right off the bat? There are a couple of other robot masters who are pretty difficult to take down with just your regular weapon. Shadow Man's level is pretty short, so I guess I'll give it another try. Ah damn, my energy's only at half. I don't have an energy tank. I don't stand a chance against this boss. So I have to farm. Oh, that big capsule I do need. Here I try Shadow Man again. God, he's brutal. This boss is weak against the infamous top spin, which I do not have. The top spin has its own set of problems, and I'm sure we'll get into that. Damn, I died again. I might have to use my cheat. I don't think I can get past him. Whew, I can't believe I got him. I don't think I've ever beaten him with my normal weapon before. Now we get the Shadow Blade, this game's version of the Metal Blade from Megaman 2. I do find the Shadow Blade vastly inferior though. Alright, now it's time to roll for a second level. A 3, so that will be Needle Man. Aw man, this playthrough is totally backwards. I'm starting with the robot masters I usually fight last. Needle Man is another boss who's pretty difficult with your regular weapon. The level itself is okay. These porcupine enemies take a few hits. If you can't take them down in time, they'll roll towards you. Alright, let's try the Shadow Blade. Well, it has decent strength, but you can only throw one at a time, it comes back to you, and Mega Man is pretty grounded when he uses it, he can't move. We're at the boss already. Again, pretty short level. Needle Man is pretty difficult too. He jumps and fires needles which come to you fast from an awkward angle. Oh damn, this was my last life? Should I use my cheat? I'm gonna try again. It worked out well for Shadow Man. Maybe I'll get lucky with Needle Man too. Get this energy tank again? If any of you are trying this challenge, you could get this tank over and over, then get a game over and collect it again. Unlike Mega Man 2, you keep your energy tanks even when you get a game over. It's monotonous, but there's nothing in the rules that say you can't do this. Even if you want to enter a password to start the game with as many E-tanks as you want, I won't judge you too harshly. There's nothing in my rules that say you can't do that. I won't resort to this though, so the E-tanks I collect will be the E-tanks that I have. I'm at Needleman again. I'm debating on whether I will use my E-tank or not. Due to the nature of this challenge run, I don't know how many tanks I will get in the long run, so I'm trying to hang on to them. Dead again! Oh, I'm totally screwed. Damn it, another game over. I should maybe have tried the Shadow Blade, but I forgot. Should I try again and use my precious E-tank, or should I just use my one-time cheat? Alright, I hope I don't regret it, but I'm gonna use my cheat. Alright, let's get a different level. Hopefully we can get a reasonable robot master this time. If I happen to roll Needleman, I can reroll. I am legitimately allowed another result. A 2, that takes us to Snake Man. Alright, this should be a little more doable. So, Snake Man has a pretty cool level with very catchy music. I like the look of this weird snake fortress too. I think this is the only Megaman game that has these containers with question marks, giving a random item. Ah, this part. This part is more dangerous than you'd expect. When you see the cloud platform coming up, it's best to jump when it gets right beneath your feet, otherwise you can inexplicably get pushed off the structure and die. I don't know if this was a glitch. These cloud bullet enemies don't make things easier either. Now Snake Man. New players might find him difficult the first time they fight him, but he always goes from the right side of the screen to the left, then back to the right again. Once you position yourself to jump over him from the higher middle platform, you should be fine. Alright, we've beaten our second Robot Master, off of my cheat, but I think it was worth it. Time to roll again. A 6. 6 takes us to Gemini Man. This is another boss that would be difficult with the regular arm cannon, but luckily I just got his weakness, the Search Snake. This is one of the weirder levels in the game. When you think of a Gemini Man, what type of level do you think it would consist of? Well, how about a weird space, intergalactal, nightmarish, robotic... I don't know what the hell this level's supposed to be, but I guess they had to come up with something. Since they already used many themes in other games like Fire and Ice, this third game didn't want to repeat those themes, unlike some of the sequels which will beat the same themes to death. The challenge of this level is a bit different than the other ones. You get a lot of these eggs, and when you fire at them you release these blue sperm thingies. It does get a little monotonous because this goes on for a while. This penguin mini-boss. Again, don't know what any of this has to do with a Gemini. This stage hasn't been too difficult so far. This part here is a bit more challenging though. You only have these small blocks to hang on, and you sometimes have to coordinate two different enemies who attempt to attack you. That submarine releases an upward missile, and a dragonfly that comes from the sky. It's a pretty dangerous area. If you have the Rush Marine, which I do have right now, you can attempt to avoid some of this challenge, but you still have to get back onto a block. You cannot use your submarine up to the end of this area. It's just a dead end, and you'll have to turn back. Trying to coordinate these two. Ah shit, I had to fall at the last friggin' hurdle. I'll give the Rush Marine a try, but again, you can't go to the very end with it. Be more careful this time. You have to coordinate these enemies like a dance. Alright, Gemini Man. He starts off with a twin. They're weak against the Search Snake, and after half of his energy is gone, its twin disappears. And with that, we're on to the next level. We also get the Gemini Laser, a weapon that sounds cool on paper, but ends up being kinda useless. I still use it in a few instances. Let's roll for the next level. Alright, I rolled a 3 for Needleman again, but I actually have his weakness weapon this time, which is the Gemini Laser. And yes, my dice rolls are real, I promise. These porcupines go down fast with the Shadow Blade. Here's a trick I think most players know. To get the Rush Jet, you normally have to beat this level, and since you can't return to levels once you beat them, it theoretically means that it's impossible to ever use the Rush Jet in this level. But if you have the Shadow Blade, the Rush Jet is actually situated to the right of it in the menu. So if you put the selection on Shadow Blade and then press right, then start, you can actually choose the locked Rush Jet. It's empty on weapon energy, but you can actually fill it up and then use it. Now back to Needleman. He goes down pretty quickly with the Gemini Laser. It's the only time it's used by most players. And now we officially get the Rush Jet. On to the next level. I roll a 1, so it's time I get to the Sparkman level. Another cool level theme. Most of this level is pretty simple except for one part. This part with the lift is pretty dangerous, raising you towards the spiked ceiling. There is another part that's even more dangerous. Now this garbage area, it's best to keep going. This part here, there are these screw enemies that appear making progress more dangerous and complicated. Sparkman, I don't think I have his weakness weapon. I might have to use my arm cannon. Maybe I'll try another weapon. Okay, the needle cannon does 2 points of damage, so that should help us. Ah shit, I'm stupid. Actually, his weakness was the Shadow Blade, which I've had since the beginning of the game. Sorry folks, brain fart on my part.
You get a lot of brain gas from Dylan.
Alright, so Topman and Hardman are still on our list. Again, no sexual innuendos here folks. Time to roll again. Alright, so number 4 takes us to Hardman. In this level, you can just off-screen these bee enemies. Why deal with that crap? Now experimenting with some weapons. Gemini Laser useless as usual. If you choose this level first, this part is actually a bit difficult since you have to use the rush coil and time your jumps right. A lot of the level is pretty standard, not too many standout moments. Maybe just the bees and these croc enemies. Now we get to Proto Man again. And now we're at Hard Man. I don't have his weakness weapon, the magnet missiles, but he's actually pretty easy. You can pretty much just brute force him, stand nearby and keep shooting. And we get his weapon, the Hard Knuckle, fisting weapon? Alright, now I only have 2 levels left. These 2 levels are pretty much the 2 who players usually start with. I said earlier that the dice are taking me backwards on this journey. I started with Shadow Man and Needle Man, who are usually some of the last robot masters we fight, and now I'm gonna end with Magnet Man and Top Man. But I will stop it here for today, so join me in the next episode as I make my way through the rest of this game.